Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Kate and Isaiah Living Large. I'm Isaiah.
And I'm Kate.
And on this episode, we're going to talk about the value of healthy food versus mass-produced food.
And not just value, but the pure cost.
Yes, the lots of cost.
Yeah.
But I think, is there anything we need to plug this morning? I think the only thing I want to talk about is really just the Buy Me a Mic again.
Yeah.
Just bringing that up, but we'll probably post it in the end of this video again. But we're still working towards that mic. Hopefully we'll have it and we'll be able to start get guests again. The hope is like by the end of November to have it so we can start having guests through December and into January, which will like almost be a year of us doing this.
It'll be a real Christmas miracle.
It will be. It'll be a Saturnalius miracle.
Yeah.
Oh, that was terrible. But let's just jump into the topic.
Well, actually, there are a couple things. I have a couple things to promote.
Oh, you
Isaiah.
have promotions? Oh, my goodness.
I know.
What?
I mentioned this last episode, and I'll mention it again. I just did the math for the dates in my head. This episode comes out on November 7th. So happy November 7th, everyone. And that means that next week there is a Comics for a Cause situation, raising money for the son of a fellow comedian in New Brunswick, in Moncton, Fredericton, and St. John. The St. John date is November 12th at Wasted Day. And essentially, there's going to be a big comedy show with a whole bunch of local comedians. And it's raising money for this gentleman who was in a terrible car accident. So check it out. I'll be on the lineup for a few short minutes and it'll be great. And then I have I'm playing the Five and Dime on November 22nd.
Oh, you're doing the Five and Dime.
I am, November 22nd. I'm actually missing trivia that night.
Oh my goodness.
To do the Five and Dime show, the Comedy Time show.
The Comedy Time show with the person.
With the people, Dan and Nat.
Sure.
Yeah.
I like Five and Dime. That's a great little spot.
I'm excited to be there. Yeah.
So I'll try and make sure we have all that stuff in the description of the video and stuff so that you guys can click and see all that fun stuff. But yeah, let's get into
Comedy Time with Austin and Dan. Oh my God.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. Sorry.
Austin and Dan.
Yeah, pumped. So yeah, right into the topic at hand, food prices.
Oh my goodness. So we kind of alluded to this last episode where we were talking about dinners and eating out. But with healthy foods versus mass-produced foods in the grocery store, a lot of times it's cheaper, or at least it feels cheaper, to buy, the frozen box foods that are like mass produced, like those giant $10 bags. I guess it's $15 now. Like nuggets from like the superstore and stuff.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing. Like I think that there are ways to stretch a dollar with healthy eating, and although they all involve a lot of prep, and
right,
a great, relatively inexpensive meal to make is a big stew.
Yeah, we've talked about this stew before.
And 'tis the season.
Tis the stew season. Yes, you are right. A stew is definitely one way to stretch a meal, because I mean the quintessential Great Depression food.
Yeah,
I know my grandmother for like her entire life would just make a pot of beef and potato stew, and that was like her supper for like a week, and then she would just make a new batch the week after, and that was like,
yeah. And the funny thing is, well, not the funny thing is, the thing with food pricing is that it has all gone up exponentially.
Yeah,
like I remember being able to buy a Delicioso pizza, frozen pizza, not that that's the best food, for $7,
right,
and it's well over 10 now.
Or like Kraft Dinner used to be like 50 cents for a box or
Yeah.
less, and now it's like $1 more a box.
Or over $2 for Kraft Dinner.
For
the brand name.
Tells you how long it's been since I bought Kraft Dinner, because it's so expensive.
Well, and it's funny, I haven't bought it lately either, but I looked at it in the store the other day and was like, what the heck?
Right. But then you take a look at, buying fruits and vegetables and things like that. And I think the bigger it is expensive in general, at least feels more expensive to go and buy individual things like that versus just going and buying like the box stuff. But the other side of it is that it doesn't last as long. Like I can buy a whole thing of nuggets and throw it in the freezer and it'll last until I'm done eating it, versus a thing of lettuce that I'll grab, and it by the time I get to the end of it, it's already gone bad, and that's within like a couple days.
So what I have discovered is the best approach when I am like on my game, which I will admittedly say is not right now, but when I'm on my game of food prep and like really full throttle, making this my life's mission, which is hard to maintain all the time, is the value of frozen fruits and vegetables, particularly frozen vegetables, because they taste great.
Right. Yeah.
And if you buy them on sale, Superstore will have sales sometimes on, buy 3 for however much.
Yep.
And, using your points cards, like your Optimum points or your Scene points or whatever grocery store you go to, that also helps stretch $1. And I don't love it, but I just got another Costco membership, but it is a great place to buy frozen fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, I don't do Costco. I've been to Costco. I'm not against Costco. I just never.
It terrifies me. I hate it.
I never go to
but
Costco.
I have membership. And kind of finding the ways to stretch that. And then once you have some frozen vegetables, it's easy to make easy. I don't do it, but like it's easier when you can throw a vegetable in a pot in 5 minutes, have that. And then if you get a meat and a starch, find what, look for sale prices and that sort of thing. But it takes a lot of effort to be that frugal and also be that prepared. And it's those strategies working together that, can really make or break a person.
Yeah. So for lunches, I do my prep for lunches. And by I mean my awesome wife. So I usually do, chicken and rice every day for lunch. And that's a pretty quick and simple thing to throw together.
You have a vegetable with it?
Yeah, I'll usually do like some sort of like broccoli or something.
Okay, good. Because it's important.
Yeah. But as far as like supper goes, it's really a crapshoot on what I'm gonna make. And sometimes I always say we should just make a prep of here's what we're gonna have, but it's easier to say than to like actually sit down and say, what are you going to want for Monday? What are you going to want for Tuesday? And I don't think that works for really me.
Yeah. And you have to find what works for you, because that's never really worked for me either. Because sometimes I may have prepped for a Tuesday dish of, soup, but it's not a soup day. It's blazing hot out and I don't want to eat hot soup.
Right.
I want to eat a sandwich.
Yeah. So it's definitely, and I know people that do that have like on their wall a blackboard of this is what we're having Monday, this is what we're having Tuesday, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. It just doesn't feel like me. But
from a weight loss perspective and a consistency perspective, when I've done those 6-week challenges in the past, which are hit and miss and not necessarily the best thing, but sometimes can help get on track, and but I found I did the best when I had like a limited menu to choose from. And it was like, I know that at every meal I have to eat this serving of vegetables, this serving of protein, and this serving of starch or whatever, carbohydrates. And I can pick and choose from a list of what those things are. And sometimes my meal would be eggs and spinach and a handful of spinach and, a piece of brown toast, whole wheat toast. And that was a meal, and that could be supper or lunch or whatever, but it was simple and I knew what I was aiming for. And it's kind of establishing what I found worked for me is a way of establishing like a benchmark. Like, this is what I have to eat, and then find the most cost effective sometimes and most efficient way of doing that.
Yeah, and I guess, and we kind of semi talk from a place of privilege of having money to be able to actually go and think about, I'm going to get vegetables today. But I think there are people out there that it's a lot easier, and spread a lot farther to actually go and buy the bag of French fries, right? It just as a stretching your money as far as you can make go, right?
And sometimes not knowing what to do with the vegetables. I was years ago, I ran for council, and I was at one of, I can't remember if it was Waterloo Village Association or Pulse. I was in one of those two buildings because I'd visited both. And they were talking about sometimes it's not about the affordability of fruits and vegetables, it's about not people genuinely not knowing what to do with them. Because if you can't pop it in the microwave, you know, there's like, or maybe it was Romero House, it doesn't matter where I learned this bit of information. But when income is at play, sometimes is a lack of education around how to make a healthy. And I mean, I keep going back to stew because it is cheap.
Right.
It is really cheap to make, and it's plentiful and it's hearty.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to peel a turnip,
right, or
peel a carrot,
or how to prep it, or
how to prep it, or you know,
or cook it properly,
it can be daunting. It wouldn't even cross your mind.
Right, you just see it and go, I don't know.
No, I'm gonna put a pizza in the oven.
Right,
and that's not a judgment. That's just
it's just
a state of
how it. Yeah, it's just how life currently exists, right?
Right.
Yeah, definitely. So I think there is something to be said about education and needing to push a little bit more for home ec style education.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer. And I think home economics goes a long way because I mean, did you take home economics in high school or junior high?
I took shop instead. There we had the option of home ec or shop.
When I was in junior high, so that tells you how long ago that was because it's called middle school.
Yeah,
it's been called middle school for a long time.
I'm young. I call it middle school.
Yeah, exactly. When I was in grade 7, I took both shop and home ec, and grade 8, both grade 7 and 8 took shop and home ec. And, you know, there was a little bit, like, I think they taught us how to make craft dinner.
but I mean, that's fair.
But like, you know, there are kids that didn't know.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah. We had the option to take shop or home ec, and I took shop because manly man.
Yeah.
In the retrospective, I was terrible at shop and probably should have just done home ec. I also did a fine dining course when I was a kid.
Cool. Like high school age, or
yeah, no, it was when I was in high school. Yeah, it was like, and you were taught about like which fork is which. Did you know there's different forks?
Of course I did. I was a Girl Guide. I learned that
Really?
there. I have the badge.
That was a fine dining course. We got to learn how to the proper etiquette of eating.
Oh, how fancy.
I know, I'm super fancy like that.
Oh, where's my salad fork? I only see one fork here.
Oh, it was all about the spoons.
Yeah, there's so many spoons.
God.
Make sure the knife's turned inside.
But yeah, I think there is something to be said about education and how to cook, which will definitely help you understand to spread it. Another thing that I saw for as far as like vegetables going bad and stuff is like, for me, I'm not saying that I have ADHD or have it. I don't. If I do, I'm not diagnosed with it. But I sometimes just forget what's in the fridge.
Yeah,
and that could just be a general thing.
I know that the people who are successful with maintaining vegetables is they like, as soon as they get it home from the grocery store, they chop it and peel it and put it away and compartmentalize it. I mean, that's not the right word I'm intended to use. They store it in such a way that it's easy to grab.
Yeah.
Those are people who are good at life, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm not one of those people. I saw one that was like, your condiments aren't going to go bad. So why do you put them in the door? Why don't you put your fruits and vegetables and stuff that you're going to see all the time? Because that's the first place you're always going to see is opening the door and putting them there.
That's interesting.
Because that one of the problems that I have is if I open the door, I don't see it right away. I don't really know it's there.
Right.
But if it's in the door, perhaps because that's the first place I always look, maybe it'll jog my mind to like, oh, I have that, instead of just open it, look around real fast, and then like open the freezer and there's the bag of fries.
Yeah.
So that's always a problem that I have, and the biggest problem I have with this is like that food just ends up going bad faster. It feels like now than before.
Yeah, I know that my aunt and uncle just visited my mom and dad, and they brought me a giant bag of freshly picked apples that I have in the car right now. So the goal will be to eat apples before they go bad. And I mean they're a giant bag. And so I guess my point in saying that too is also to pay attention to the season. We do have a fruitful harvest season here in New Brunswick where you can get fruits and vegetables of certain kinds at varying times through the year for decent price. And right now is apple season. So even the price of the grocery store of Honeycrisp apples was only $1.99 a pound last week.
Yeah, it's true. If paying attention to what season is, right? Because like you're not going to get corn this time of season for cheap. But like a month ago, or 2 months ago, corn was really cheap because we were at harvest season,
right? And we're not shipping it because of a big portion of our added grocery costs are the added shipping costs that are associated with it. And I don't know if you've seen the price of fuel lately; it's not cheap.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. It's definitely the association and other things that are a little bit more political, which we like to be a little bit more lighthearted, so we won't get into that.
We know that there are bad things going on in the world. We're aware.
Yeah.
We just want to brighten your day.
With our lovely voices.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, looking at seasonal stuff, yeah, definitely is a good one. Have you ever done Flash Foods? It's an app.
No.
So another great savings way is to look on this app called Flash Foods, and it's tied into the Superstore, blah blahs, whatever you want to call them. But basically, it's a app that you can see stuff that's basically on sale, cheaper cost, and you order it on the app instead of like going into the store, and then you go into the store and just pick it up. But they frequently have like giant boxes of fruits and vegetables. Sometimes it's like 20 lemons and like 50 limes. But that's another way to like look at savings as a means for fruits and vegetables too.
Right. And then it makes you, I know during the pandemic, there was a place online, I can't remember what it was called. And I tried to look the other day to see if it was still active, but where you could pay, I think it was $25, and you had to put in your order 3 days before. It would tell you what was going to come in your order, but it would be a variety of fruits and vegetables and maybe a carton of eggs and something like that. And you kind of got to pick and choose, but it was based on a list because it was based on more fresh stuff. And it kind of forced you to be creative. If there was a fruit or vegetable that you'd never seen before, like, what am I going to make with this?
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing for our area, especially is we do have a lot of farmers in the area. And some of them do those boxes, the seasonal boxes or whatever. And like, especially during the farmer market season, where they'll bring you the box of whatever it is that you can take home.
Yeah,
that's always a good choice too, especially if it's like something you've never tried before. Maybe you can search online with internet being pretty relatively available to most people. Again, talking from a place of privilege.
Well, no, but it is relatively available to most people because you can still get the internet at a public library.
Right.
So the internet generally is accessible.
Yeah, true. So, I mean, that's a way of broadening your horizons and maybe finding something a little bit more healthy to eat.
Yeah.
Instead of
it's hard when you don't know where to start. And you know what? I know that I struggle with it all the time.
Yeah, no, 100%. I struggle with thinking of things to make. That's my biggest issue is I can stare at the fridge for like an hour and be like, I don't really know what to make.
You know what's funny is we had our dining out episode last week is I have this other thing too where I can spend $60 in a restaurant and not barely bat an eyelash. But then when I'm at a grocery store, I turn into the most frugal person in the world. I'm like, I cannot spend that for that. And then I'll walk out with not enough stuff. And I'm like, you idiot. You actually just bought dinner last night for a joke and didn't think twice about it. Why are you worried about this thing that's going to sustain this bag of almonds or something?
Yeah. I just spent $100 to go to a restaurant. But spending 50 cents on a on a banana is too much.
Yeah, ridiculous. It's too much money. It's like, Caitlin, what are you doing?
The privileges and the exceptions that we make sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for the most part, it is about understanding what foods are, what options you have, and understanding the foods that are available and how to trying to make the best of it
And we're finding what works for you too, because I know for me, time is an issue.
Yeah.
It's not just cost. Cost is certainly a factor, but time to get to a grocery store and time to prepare said food. That sometimes I look to those like pre-made salads, which are astronomically expensive,
God, yeah.
but I'm like, well, it's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
It's fruits and vegetables. It's better than, and it's like, it's almost like choosing the best thing for the right moment.
Right.
And it's all about choices. This is I hear my mom's voice in my head right now. It's like, everything's a choice. You can choose this or you can choose this. And you can choose to eat out at McDonald's or you can choose to buy a salad at the superstore.
Right. But I think we should wrap this up.
Yeah.
So where can people find you on the internet?
At Fat Caitlin on TikTok, at the Caitlin Dean on X, formerly known as Twitter, Caitlin Dean on Facebook, at Kated or Kate D on Instagram, and we're at Kate and Isaiah Living Large on Facebook.
And I am at Maritime Brews on all of the social medias. And again, for that mic, there's our Buy Me a Coffee, which the QR code will pop up over here if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, it'll be in the description below. And then, of course, again, if you are listening on a podcast and you want to watch the video of us talking and doing all our hand movements that we do when we talk, you can check us out on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you can like, share, and subscribe, it does go a long way to making us more noticeable. And we definitely appreciate that. And of course, we always appreciate you stopping and listening to us every week. And thank you guys for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate you.
But until next week, bye.
So long.